another simple economic model called the circular flow diagram. The circular flow diagram just describes two different types of markets and explains the role that each of them plays in the overall economy. So here we have a very simplified model in that there's no government intervention. We have a pure capitalistic free market, where the only players in the markets are households and firms. We can have two types of interactions between households and firms. We can have interactions through market for goods and services. Think of that: apples, ice cream, video games, whatever. We can also think about markets for what we call the factors of production. Factors of production just refers to all those things that go into the making of these goods and services. Those things can be labor, they can be capital, they can be land, they can be a number of different things. So let's think in each type of market where the flow of dollars and the flow of resources goes. So if we were to think about the goods and services market, we have the households as the buyers and the firms as the sellers of goods and services. So we can track the money and we can also track the stuff. In the goods and services market, the money is flowing from the households to the firms because they're buying stuff. So we'll put dollars here. And we have stuff flowing from firms to households. So we can put stuff like this. But that doesn't really complete the picture, because if this were the only market to be had, soon all the firms would have all the money, all the households would all have all the stuff, and our circular flow would stop and our economic activity would cease. Luckily, there's a flip side to the goods and services market, that being the factor market. In the factor markets, the roles of buyer and seller are reversed such that the households are the suppliers or the seller of factors of production, and the firms are the buyers of the factors of production. How is this possible? Well, you can think about factors of production as labor and capital. As a household, you're actually supplying labor in that market by essentially renting yourself out for a particular wage. So now we can think about which way the dollar flows in this market. Since the households, or the members of the households, are getting paid to provide their factors of production, the money is now flowing towards them. So now we can get the money going like this. Well, now the item supplied is going towards the firms, in that households are supplying labor, capital, land, etc. And all of those things are flowing towards the firm. So now we have a happy closed loop in which the dollars are going around and around, and our economy can actually sustain itself. When we come back to talking about supply and demand, we're for the most part going to be talking about the market for goods and services, but we will also come back and talk about the flip side of that being the factor markets. One important distinction to make and important to understand as we get started is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Simply put, microeconomics refers to, not surprisingly, small things or individual markets. We can talk about the market for ice cream, we can talk about the market for cars, we can think about the market for housing, those sorts of things. When we're talking about individual markets and analyzing the individual behaviors of firms and households and how those come together to form the markets, we're talking about microeconomics. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, is the study of the overall level of production in the economy, or aggregate economic activity. If you want to think about business cycles, booms, recessions, depressions, things like that, if you want to look at the impact of interest rates on production in an economy, macro is going to be where you want to look. If we're talking about individual markets, individual firm decision making, individual household decision making, micro is going to be what you want to study.